Tupate na ustawi, moja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Helen Gishuhi. My boss, His Excellency, Honorable Dr. Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary, and my Waziri. Allow me also to stand on the protocols that have already been established and really just take a moment to thank you all for showing up. It is one thing to prepare a feast and have nobody show up. It is one thing to send out invitations, but it is another to have people actually come. So as I look out, I see a lot of colleagues, friends, people we have worked with over the years, and some new friends, and I'm grateful to have you all here. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for the remarks that have already been given by the Wajumbe who oversee us, Honorable Haika, Honorable Bashir, PS, my sister, Ambassador Barine, the Dean, and my colleague, Daniel Mwaura, who is the Director of Planning, who I really want to recognize together with your team for leading the charge on this project, and I really want to say congratulations. And if we can just extend a clap to the planning team at Diaspora Affairs. Asanteni sana. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official launch of the State Department for Diaspora Affairs Strategic Plan, as you've heard, 2023-2027. I'm very delighted and encouraged by your presence here today, as I have said, because it shows a deep commitment to our friendship and to the work that we do, and to the safety, to the welfare, to the well-being of the Kenyan diaspora. How does one begin to write a strategic plan? Or when you are given the mandate to set up a new department that cares for 4 million people dispersed across over 190 countries, how do you go about doing that job? What are the things that you think about? What are the things that you leave out? What are the things you choose to be your guiding light, the most important work that you do? How do you go about doing that? I have heard it said that if you're going to cut a very big tree, you need to spend, if you have 1 hour to cut a very big tree, you need to spend 50 minutes of that hour sharpening the axe. That is what I have been told. That is the planning part. That is what I think we've spent a lot of time doing, putting together this document. But some of the things that we chose to be our guiding light are they were here a few minutes ago, it was waving. But what we saw as important is to put people first and to put the protection of Kenyans first. So as you read this document that we have now, prepared, and I promise you, Honorable Haika, that it actually answers a lot of the questions that you have raised. We have done the work of ensuring that Kenyans in the diaspora are protected, and it is protection first. If you could have the house up, please. It is protection first. We lead with the people at our heart. So thank you so much to my boss, Prime Cabinet Secretary, not just for gracing this occasion, but I am indeed very grateful for your leadership on all matters diaspora. You're a committed leader, and you have grabbed this department and run with it. And I'm grateful for your support and for the work and the time that you put into this department. I also want to thank my brother 𝐃𝐈𝐀𝐒𝐒, who's not here but represented today, because he is the big brother who took diaspora affairs under his wing and helped us to find our footing. So the growth of this department took a concerted effort, and we've needed to extend and have gotten support from the 3 to 4 million Kenyan diaspora across the globe. The responsibility of caring for 4 million people who are dispersed across the world and not always in the same kinds of spaces and in geographies that have varying issues and concern. That responsibility is not lost on us. But we are also aware that within the region, we are one of very few countries that have a dedicated department that is charged with caring for the state, for its diaspora. As the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. So we recognize the leadership role that we are expected to play within this region and even globally in just influencing how governments going forward look at their diaspora and work with their diaspora and engage their diaspora and care for people who live far, far from them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our inaugural strategic plan since the inception, of course, of the State Department in December of 2022 and the expansion of our mandate shortly thereafter in 2023. As you've heard, it's been prepared in accordance with the guidelines from the State Department for Economic Planning and all of the various documents, whether it's be better, whether it be the AU Agenda 2063, and so on and so forth. And the strategic plan really pieces together our priorities towards protecting, engaging, empowering, and prospering our diaspora. And this is what we intend to do in the 2023 to 2027 period. And it talks about the key initiatives in achieving our mandate. And as Mr. Moore already spoke to us about, our key mandates really are 9, and they're to champion the protection and rights, the promotion of welfare for Kenyans abroad, to promote the continuous dialogue of Kenyans abroad, supporting Kenyans in the diaspora to harness more opportunities for employment and enterprise development, promote the participation of Kenya's diaspora in democratic processes in the country in liaison with other stakeholders, to develop an incentive framework for diaspora remittances, to harness diaspora savings, facilitate FDI and technology transfer, and working with the Ministry of Labor to implement the labor migration policy, as well as a global labor market strategy to secure placement of Kenyans abroad in conjunction with the Ministry of Labor, and importantly, to mainstream the Kenyan diaspora into the national development process. Since the inception of the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, we've made remarkable progress in implementing the Kenya Kwanza plan, especially the commitments made to the Kenyan diaspora. And Mr. Mora spoke about some of those milestones, and he spoke about work that had been done also by the diaspora and consular unit that predated the State Department for Diaspora Affairs. And as I look around, I recognize my dear friend, Ambassador Washington Olo, who was for a long time the director in charge of diaspora and consular affairs when it was a unit, and unfortunately retired in the very early months of my term, and but has continued to be of great support. Asante sana, Balozi. So we've strengthened diaspora partnerships through high-level engagements, as you've heard, and I think over maybe 19 countries in the last almost 2 years during state and high-level visits. We've done evacuation and repatriation of over 1,500 Kenyans from various countries who are facing distress. And perhaps this is an important point to pause now, Excellency, and just maybe remind us or inform us that we are currently in the process of evacuating Kenyans from Lebanon, even as matters have continued to be a little unstable there, and the State Department for Diaspora Affairs continues to run that evacuation plan for Kenyans in Lebanon. We've provided mobile consular services to over 13,000 Kenyans in over 150 cities across many countries, and we have concluded negotiations on comprehensive migration and mobility agreements, most recently with Germany, and last week on Thursday with Austria as well, on the margins of UNGA. And we've supported the Ministry of Labor in the initiation of bilateral labor agreements among other countries, such as the State of Qatar, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, ongoing conversations with Canada, and so on. We have done a number of migration projects, such as the Mkulima Maju, that has farmers moving to the UK, and we are currently working on other exciting projects, including with the state of Nebraska, and partly why Laban is here. Maybe just to say, Excellency, that really in the last 2 years, the data from immigration says that our diaspora has grown by 180,000 people who are specifically moving for purposes of labor migration. So not students, not persons joining their families for family reunification, but labor migrants, properly speaking, or persons seeking diaspora jobs. That number has grown by 180,000 in the last 2 years. We've digitalized services. We have provided, working with the CBK, more diaspora-facing products. We've enhanced public participation by the diaspora on government policy and legislative frameworks through our public participation program, and so on. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, these initiatives have enhanced service delivery, really, to our diaspora and have boosted trust. I think one of the first things that Mr. Mora mentioned as one of the challenges that we found with our diaspora from the beginning is a lack of government trust. And as I have spoken with many persons across the world, and even some of the ambassadors and high commissioners here, diasporas lacking trust in their government seems to be an almost universal problem, where diasporas generally are a little cautious with their governments. And so the work that we have done has boosted trust and confidence in this government, and we have seen that impact even on things that you can measure, such as the growth in remittances. Excellency, in the last year alone, or in 2023, the remittances from diaspora rose to hit 4.18 billion US dollars, up from 4.02, I think, in the previous year. And I think we are on track to hit the high 4.9s for this year. Going forward, and as presented earlier by my planning team, the strategic plan of 2023-27 commits to enhance diaspora service delivery and their participation in national development through the 5 key result areas that Maura spoke about. What we are really looking to do here is to serve Kenyans where they are and to serve them well. Excellency, before I invite you to give us your remarks, let me say that one thing that probably was left out, and I know you're going to speak a little bit about this, is the fact that part of our policy work and part of our institutional framework work, yes, that is coming up is the sessional paper on the diaspora and foreign policy, and perhaps you will speak a little bit about that. And also, I know one of the things that is interesting and of importance to you is the diaspora bond, and I'm also looking forward to hearing that from you. So we have a great few years to look forward to in terms of the things that we are trying to do, very boldly moving to make some of these things done, but always leading with our heart and starting with the protection of Kenyans first. We protect, we engage, we empower, we prosper. At this juncture, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, guests, please join me in welcoming the chief guest, His Excellency the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, to make his remarks and officially launch the SDDA strategic plan. Karibu sana, Waziri Mkuu.
PS Njogu was telling you that we want to move a notch higher. We want to make sure that Kenya's foreign policy and diaspora policy does not remain a document which is the preserve of the executive. No. We want Kenyans to own this. We want Kenyans to participate in having a say in where we go. And this is why, for the first time, we are on the road to make sure that for the first time, Kenya's parliament will actually debate a sessional paper covering Kenya's foreign policy and the diaspora policy, so that they can be engaged, they can be involved. We were amazed, but pleasantly so, although it was a rude shock, when the diaspora, the Gen Z were in town, and they said they don't know why a president travels out of the country. That is a very serious statement as to where we have been with our foreign policy, with our engagements. Because the young people want to know, what do you do? Do you just board a plane and disappear? What is it? What is there for the Kenyans in all these foreign and diplomatic engagements? We must answer that question. And to answer that question, it is time the Parliament engaged fully with our foreign policy. What is it all about? What is it all about? Does it get us to incur more debt, or does it help us settle debt? Is it giving us an opportunity to bring in foreign direct investment, or are we chasing away foreign direct investment? What are we doing? Now, these are fundamental questions that must be answered and must be owned by the people of Kenya. And Parliament is the institution that represents the people of Kenya. And therefore, that discourse must be there. And in the process, we shall have broader ownership and understanding of where we want to go as a nation today and in the future, and how to grow our investments. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thought I should share those few remarks with you. And it is now my pleasant duty to officially launch the strategic plan. Thank you.
3, 2, 1. Please have the copies for the PCS to present the copies. Okay, photo please. Thank you. Could we please request the diplomatic corps to join us down here such that we have one group photograph? Yes. Thank you very much. Excellency, I'll request you please take your seats for the vote of thanks. The photograph with the staff of the State Department for Diaspora Affairs will be taken outside.
Thank you.